Hi, I'm Professor Green. This is Chapter 10, Part 3. I think in the last section I said that we were already moving on to Chapter 11, but we're not. We have 3 sections to each chapter. I'm just so excited to complete the curriculum with you. So let me go ahead and share my screen and share the slides from Chapter 10, which I unfortunately already closed. Let me go ahead and open those. And yeah, we finish up networking and relationships. And so now we're going to talk about a little bit more about organizational change and how people can best be navigators of organizational change when they have the right network and relationships pulled together. So here we are, section 3. I guess I could have re-recorded this, but here we go. Leveraging your network, the learning objectives, describing how to leverage the power of networks for professional and organizational success. Recognize networks as a form of social capital, right? So capital, right, it brings value, and there's a lot of value that comes from your networks, as we'll see. Most people get jobs because they already know someone. 80% of jobs people get hired from within the organization. And yeah, and that people use their networks quite a bit. So explain how and why the shape of your network matters. And also describe how networks can be used to advance your career. So what is the social networks have many benefits for those who actively seek to draw on the collective insight of the members. We can access global news, right? Can you even imagine life without Twitter? Having to rely on the television for the news. Seek and offer personal advice. See photos of unique vacation spots, right? Share political opinions. It's a really nice way for people to kind of voice their ideas and brainstorm theories, and then get referrals, of course, for products and services. Again, what would we do without Amazon reviews? So networks and social capital, right? So the network of these social connections lead to mutually advantageous cooperation and collaboration, right? And so I just feel so grateful for living at a time where we have access to friends and family who have information that are useful to us. That very quickly I can see my friend Shannon from business school. She's very well connected. And if I ever needed a professional in climate change, she works in ESG, or carbon credits, or a whole bunch of different areas. I can very quickly ask my friend Shannon for a referral. We couldn't do this without LinkedIn, without Facebook or social media. So the social capital, they say, is the number of people who provide support to a person and the value of the resources that they provide, right? We can't really put a number to this, but we know that they bring a lot of value to us. So we rely on our friends and acquaintances to learn about new job opportunities, change in local events, discounts at local supermarkets. But more than that, support groups, people who, develop cancer, to reach support groups, parenting, etc. So shared valuable information with others in the network. And so increasing your social capital, how does this work? Through informal networks that serve as a source of power outside of the formal hierarchy. As we've said, before, that I'm recording a video. And so, right, you have your organizational chart, but then you have your informal ways of connecting with people. So I'm going to show a figure in the next slide. Where Chris is the most senior, and Logan is at the bottom of the pyramid, but Logan has a lot of social capital. Logan seems to know what's going on in the organization. He can connect with lots of different people for jobs, for changes in the organization, maybe mergers, acquisition, etc. I think of this as like a key admin. And so really helpful when you're looking to connect and support other people within your organization. And so Logan's access to this knowledge is social capital that can be advantageous to her career development. People will call on her as a reliable source of information, and she then might easily get promoted. So, but this needs to be an exchange, which we'll talk about in a minute. Just to, show you in an illustration here. Here's Logan. Here she's at the bottom compared to Chris, but Logan has a lot of great social capital. So how do we leverage a network? We're going to go through a couple slides going into detail on these: a cohesive network, a bridging network, and a brokering network. So a cohesive network is one in which the people you are connected to one another. This is again the sorority idea. It builds trust. Also, the LMU professors is another one, where we all kind of know each other. But only incremental change is change that builds on it rather than disrupting existing norms and patterns. Because as soon as change happens, we all start to talk and we can all kind of gang up together and maybe fight the change, whatever it might be. A bridging network is one in which you're connected to people who aren't connected to one another. And this is useful for radical change, diverges from status quo and disrupts the existing norms and patterns. And then a brokering network is one connecting different groups of people so that access to goods and services is enabled. And this is a key role, and one that I've held many times in my life, which is kind of exciting. So again, the cohesive network, that people are connected to one and to another. So the shape of your network matters. So high trust, mutual support that facilitates communication and coordination. That's awesome. But here in the bridging, you act as a bridge to connect others, which gives you access to novel information and control over how information flows. So this is when I connect my students to my colleagues, previous MBA students, etc. I then am the connector, and I'm really grateful for that. This is, I'm grateful to have that opportunity to share that information. You'll have access to the marketing department as well as production, but your colleagues in those departments are not directly connected to each other. The advantage is access to novel information and ability to control when and how information is passed along, right? For radical change, because they can't talk to each other. So you might talk certain information to certain groups at certain times. And then a brokering network is one that connects totally different groups of people to goods and services information needed to bridge across silos, departments, units that are separated from one another due to expertise, the type of work activity, or the formal organizational structure. When I was at Credit Suisse in New York, I was a project manager on the trading floor, and so I'd connected the traders, but we were setting up a trading desk in Mexico City. And so then there was an IT team in Mexico, and then there was an engineering team in New York. And then we also had to speak with the traders in New York because they were also going to receive the trades. We're going to take trades from Mexican Stock Exchange through the Mexico office of Credit Suisse into the New York office to the and then and making sure that the traders in New York could trade on the Mexican Stock Exchange. So in social networks, separate groups are called clusters or subgroups of actors who are tied together because they have similar traits or characteristics. So here's a slide on this. So, right, here are the clusters, and here is the broker who connects, with one person in finance, one person in marketing, one person in engineering, one person in R&D. So it's a very pivotal and important role. And so, as I said, I really enjoyed that role. You can create a lot of change and a lot of excitement, and hopefully an energizing network where it's feeling fun and motivating. Promotions positively related to well-being and retention, employee thriving, people feeling energized and alive. And on the other side, you can have a de-energizing network, right? That's more dysfunctional, there's low morale. And yes, we like to sometimes blow off steam and complain to our colleagues, but this can also be contagious. And we have to be careful about balancing that not complaining too much, or not, letting that bad feeling spread so quickly. So, how to use your network to advance your career? Um, right. So, the greatest value of a social network is to advance your own career and development. When people got job opportunities through their social networks, 84% were from weak ties, where 16% were from strong ties. So, right, a friend of a friend. Again, that's why I think it's so valuable to connect my students with people that I've worked with before, because the chances of them getting a job are pretty good. Uh, and 80% of job placements, as I previously said in this section, came through a company's network of existing employees or close industry partners, right? So that's why they give incentives very often to people to refer their friends to your organization, because they feel those create successful employees, successful recruitments. So, and they, yeah, serve to foster and promote one's reputation. Um, So yeah, the good things and the bad things, as we say, follow you, but hopefully, in your case, just the good things. So thank you so much for joining me finally at the end of chapter 10. I'll see you for the final chapter, chapter 11.